Hey everyone, I have some spreadsheet tips for you here today. Some things that might make your spreadsheet work a lot easier. Now, this is not going to go into a great deal of detail or depth, but if you wanted to try some of these tips with this particular spreadsheet, I have this available as something you can make a copy of at ESU1 example bit.ly/ESU1 example sheet. And what this spreadsheet is just a simple sample that has different student names and their teacher names, like as if it were a class, and then parent emails, and then shirt sizes. So we're ordering t-shirts for this fictional group of kids. Okay. So with this, there are a couple of tips. The first one is that, let's say I want to sort this by student, but I have their names in as first and last name. Not the most convenient way to sort a spreadsheet. So what I do here is I insert one column to the left, or if you're over here, to the right, and I'm going to do what's called data split to columns. So I go under the data menu and I hit the split text to columns. And from here, I have to choose how these words are separated. And in this case, it's a space. It could detect it automatically, but if we're sure we know what it is, just click space, and then look at that. It's automatically separated out, and we've got first name and last name. Now, from here, if you wanted to actually sort them, many of you may know how to do this already, but you can select everything here, or you can just select the columns that you want to sort, but then you'd hit data and sort range advanced, and we're going to say it has a header row. If you don't click that header row box, then when it sorts, it will put that header row into the list in alphabetical order. So we want to do by last name here and from A to Z. All right. So there we have our last names in alphabetical order here. And we've got a couple of duplicates, but we're just going to ignore those for now. So the next thing I want to do is, let's say I need to know what shirts to order. Okay, so I have a list in here, and I could look in and type automatically which t-shirt sizes have been requested. But I can also I'm just going to label this sizes at the top, and I could do this on a different tab, and I might normally do that, but I'm going to just continue the spreadsheet on over here. And I'm going to use a formula called unique. And unique is just going to let me list all of the values here that exist. So I've got smalls, youth large, large medium, youth medium, and those are listed. And that's all that unique does, is it looks through and says, okay, what are the different values that I have here? So super easy and convenient. Now let's say I need to know what numbers I need to order of each of these. So I'm going to say that I'm going to label this quantity. Now if I wanted to count all my t-shirts, just all of them, I would use a formula called COUNTA. There's count, which will count the number of different numbers in a column. Count A will count the number of values in a column. Just a outright count of all of these. So if I wanted to count all the shirts total shirt numbers that I needed, I would do a count A of that whole column. And I don't want to autofill this, although that's a very good tip also, is autofilling a formula. I don't want to autofill this though. So I know now that I have 40 shirts to order, but that's not really what I want in here, okay? Because I want to know just how many smalls I have. So I'm going to change this formula to COUNTIF. And COUNTIF is a little different. COUNTIF will tell me how many of a certain value. And I want the COUNTIF to count this value. All right, and then I want to put a comma and enter the range that I'm looking for. So it should give me how many smalls I need. That's not right. Let's see here. And that's because I put it in backwards. I actually want to put the range first. So I'm going to just back this up. There's my range, and I'll put count, and then I want to reference that cell. And so now I know I have 23. And here's where I can drag this down, because it's going to reference this cell over here. So in this one, it references F3. And so I have 6 youth larges, 3 larges, 6 mediums, and 2 youth mediums. So that is how you can go ahead and count all of your different values, and you know exactly how many t-shirts. And if we were to sum these up, and I can do an equal sum, I can check to see, and now our total was 40 before, right? So if we have 40 here, we should have 40 shirts. Now, one thing we would want to make sure and check when we drag this formula down, there's a little bit of something to be cautious of. We actually want to make sure it always starts with E2, and it doesn't. So there's something that we want to add to our formula to make sure that it will always start with E2, and that's a $sign right in front of that 2. And so let's see if that shouldn't change our count any, but it might. Let's just check. Pull it down. Now we make sure that we're always starting at E2, and it's okay that this goes up, but if you wanted to freeze that at $41, you would freeze just that range. So that will make sure that when you drag these down, those number values don't change. So that's pretty convenient, right? All right, so the last little tip that I wanted to show here is just how you can filter out by a certain value. So let's say I just want to look at Mrs. Allen's class. Okay, filters are super, super easy and important. Now I'm going to hide these other pieces, and this is another good tip. You can just hide different columns if you want, but I want to filter by this number or by this to see who gets what out of Mrs. Allen's class. So I'm going to select all of this, and I'm going to click this filter button over here and create a filter. And then I can click on this little triangle here and just, I want to clear out all selections except the one that said, I think I said Allen, but I think that's not the one I want. I'll just say Carter. Okay, so there's all, yeah, I was referring to Allen here, but all of Mrs. Carter's students, those are all of hers there. And you can easily switch between these filtered views. So if I want to see Mrs. Lee, if I want to see Mr. Thompson, so then I have a really, and these can be copied out into another sheet if you need, or another list, but it's a really easy way to keep everything in very organized data, but then filter it out and look at just what you need. So hope this has been helpful in getting you some spreadsheet tips. And like I said, if you want to play with this spreadsheet, it is at bit.ly/issue1 example sheet. Have a great day.